we are different from our parents and ancestors and grandparents and family because everybody is a single individual, right? Regardless of what family you come from, your family could be crazy as F, but you might be a different breed. It doesn't have to be just because your family is a certain way that you're supposed to be that way. And I think sometimes we get, I believe, sometimes we get kind of carried away with that persona of what we're supposed to be or who we're supposed to emulate, right? Everybody's supposed to emulate their dad, their mom, their grandparents, family, whatever it is, holding on this honor. Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? How are we doing today? I want to jump on real quick and make some chat here, some dialogue on what I've been recently feeling and my insights. When you're kind of in a path that is not really out there, not many people are doing it, something different, something you feel like you want to try out, it's going to be a lot of pushback, a lot of hard to find examples because we all have our own individuality. Everybody has their own things to bring to the table, so it's I can't really go out there and search for it. So then you kind of make your own path. But one of the most things I've been realizing so far is that you have to be able to stay true to yourself, one, and also get the feedback, as we call it, from others, but at the same time understand that whatever it is that you're trying to create might not be seen or appreciated by others at the moment. It's not because they have envy or hate or whatever. It does exist, but it might not be because of that. It might be because just they're not where you're at, or they're not seeing what you're seeing, which is coming from you as an individual. And that's okay. But at the same time, I think one of the hardest thing I think is to let go of the feeling of guilt, in a sense of, and this came up today earlier in the morning. I was thinking about it. Where you see others kind of like not even, I guess, not even questioning or seeing what they're doing or what it is that we're trying to actually obtain in life, I would say. And everybody's just out there following the steps of those before us, or maybe our ancestors, parents, grandparents. We're kind of just in the same, I would say, trajectory, and we kind of question it, but we kind of just let it go and keep on moving forward without really thinking about what we're actually doing. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is to come to realization in the sense of that we're in a different time, we're in a different era, we are different from our parents and ancestors and grandparents and family because everybody is a single individual, right? Regardless of what family you come from, your family could be crazy as F, but you might be a different breed because your family is a certain way that you're supposed to be that way. And I think sometimes we get, I believe, sometimes we get kind of carried away with that persona of what we're supposed to be or who we're supposed to emulate, right? Everybody's supposed to emulate their dad, their mom, their grandparents, family, whatever it is, holding on this honor. And I've met a couple of individuals that have gone to the army or served in our country, which is an honorable. I mean, I don't think I would ever be able to do that, but I was younger. I did want to try it, but they served in our country not because they had this kind of like inkling about it, but because their father, their grandfather, their uncle, great dad, great grandfather, they all served. We kind of gotta understand that that's a great honor. I understand where that individual comes from in their heart, but also understand hopefully that that's what they truly want to do, and not feel like they're letting their family down if they don't feel like serving our country. And that could be any example, any job, any type of industry. I know me being an immigrant, my family's immigrants coming to this country. Obviously, when they first came to this country, they had to kind of make their own path. And it's crazy, the irony right now, because I feel like I'm making my own path. So I guess everybody has their own way in life. But they were really think about coming to a new country. Think about it right now. We go to a new country, never been there before. We don't know the language. We don't know the people. We don't know how to survive. We have to kind of build our own way. It's kind of like a survival of the fittest. And they got to make what they can out of the situation, right? But I think that doesn't mean that we, as sons and kids of our parents, that we have to follow that path. I think the hardest thing, I think, for me, and I can admit this, is not living up to my parents' expectations. And I don't know if anybody has dealt with this, but I understand that everybody makes fun of the certain communities or cultures that actually do, take it to heart. But don't forget about the Latino community, man. A lot of us, our parents, have standards. Like if they never went to college, I know for me, I felt like I had to go to college. And it kind of pushes us to do things that we don't even think about doing it. We're doing it to kind of honor our parents, honor our family. And I know this video took a whole different turn, but I really want to talk about the subject. I think sometimes feeling like we're letting our family down, especially our parents, we kind of dive into things that we really wouldn't have dived into unless, we would have actually tried to hold this persona or this reputation of ourselves to our family. I think the faster you can kind of let that go and be okay with that, and just stop fighting what you truly came here to be, and whatever it is that what calls you. I don't know what that may be, but whatever it is that calls you at this moment, I think the easier you can let that go, bounce that off of you, and accept it, and accept the criticism, accept I will say you're gonna disappoint a lot of family members, a lot of especially your parents. And I think the hardest thing, I think, for family members, they won't understand, is that you're not like them. And at the same time, you love them, you guys honor each other, there's nothing more than your family. But I think there's a thin line where you're doing things because you want to impress your family or hold a certain name or reputation, whatever it may be that your family is known for. And this comes from, I was watching over the weekend the Netflix documentary with Aaron Hernandez, which is a whole different story, but how he grew up in a household where his father was kind of like this looked up individual, very high up there. And I can imagine the pressure he had, and his brothers and everybody else, to kind of, represent this family. You didn't represent it a certain way, you will be disowned or looked at differently by your family. And there's nothing more than us being, I think, like losing that validation or that love, or feeling like we're not being, like we letting them down, than our own parents. Like I think that's the biggest heart, breaker for a kid, like letting your parents down, feeling like your parents are not proud of you. So I know for me, I try to always tell my daughters now as they're growing up that I'm proud of them no matter what, and I love them for who they are, not what they have to become. And it is a topic that I think a lot of us don't really want to talk about, but I think it's really honest. If we really sit down with ourselves and look at our actions and look at our what we how we move around in life, through college years and adulthood, a lot of it is we're worried about, not worried, but we do think about how our parents or family are gonna see certain things, and we might not care much about strangers, but the family and especially parents, it's definitely plays a big role in our lives. For those that have supportive parents that love you no matter what and don't hold up these high expectations and just let you be who you want to be, kudos to you guys. That is awesome. You guys are blessed. But for the most of us that have parents that kind of don't understand what we're doing and don't really, and support it, and at the same time don't understand it, and they have a way of being and they want you to be that way, but you're not that way, it's kind of a uphill battle. But I think that's when you kind of become more of yourself, because you understand this is part of making you to, basically molding you to where you're supposed to be. And at this moment, everything that we're going through, like I always say, is perfect. But it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it and understand it and kind of digress or digest or let it out, or basically talk about issues that we think about and come up on a daily basis. You guys are right now, maybe young guys are feeling, or young females are feeling a certain way of afraid to let down your parents, especially your parents, family members. I think the first and foremost, you have to look at yourself and understand what it is you really want to do before you take any steps moving forward, especially career and life and whatnot. But make sure you're doing it for yourself first and foremost, and not as trying to honor or make your parents proud. Because if your parents truly love you, and which most likely they do, they're gonna love you regardless. And I think understanding that that they might not be agreeing with what you're doing right now, but inside their hearts, they love you no matter what, and they're willing to trade you for the world. So that being said, I'll see you guys next time.